members who take full advantage of membership with Land for Success. And you're probably wondering, what is membership with Land for Success? Because you're right now a part of a community that is all about promoting your business for free to over 14,000 people in this group, which is amazing, from all over the world. Isn't it just amazing, Mr. Gallant, that we have a platform where now more than ever before, people are looking at how they can expand their business, thinking locally to grow globally. And that's what Land for Success is, right? So,
Absolutely amazing.
yeah. And you, as a member of Land for Success, what we're doing on a regular basis with members is highlighting them and helping them more or less bridge the gap, where they can make connections with individuals who may be looking for what they offer. So they always say there's a little commercial out there, membership has its privileges. Well, it does. We're showing
Absolutely.
it right now.
Exactly.
Mr. Gallant, you know, let me just tell people here in this space who you are. You are the CEO of Complete CU Services, the founder of Market to Market. I like to call you a finance guru because with your experience and knowledge working in the financial institutions, as well as sharing your knowledge to business owners, whether you're established or aspiring, even entrepreneurial, thinking about being an entrepreneur. You have so much knowledge to share with people from the infancy stage to the planning stages of their business. And it's so huge and vast that you can actually bring a certain element to it of experienced knowledge from working with people who are established already years and years and years. So make no mistake, anyone who's watching here, this is not for just for the beginner. It's for the people who maybe think they're amateurs, but they're already professionals. And it's really rare, Mr. Gallant, really in lots of things, to have someone that has experience with everything from the beginning planning stages to helping people with the structure, as well as someone who's already established, showing them how to market themselves in the world that we live in now, which is all digital. So let me also share with people your big heart, and it shows in everything you do, not to mention the fact that you are a husband, you're a father of twin boys, and still running how many businesses? I can't even remember right now. You actually took the time to be with us today. So without further ado, please take over, let people know what they're going to receive today, the fifth part of a five-part series that you dedicated to Learn for Success members.
Thank you, Tammy. Yeah, so in essence, what's interesting about, and I'm not the only one, but um, a lot of my team members at Complete Sea Services as well, we always we worked a lot in commercial banking. So when we were in commercial banking, we saw a lot of entrepreneurs and their business plans, et cetera, and trying to help them through different methods. If we couldn't do it at the bank, then we, partnered up with different crown corporations or tried to get the funding for them.
Yes.
And this also, gave me a lot of experience in terms of different industries from, convenience stores to,
Yes.
large manufacturing corporations and different industries and energy, et cetera. So great school and all sizes, right from the sole ownership to mid-market, corporate, and world markets. So today what we'll be discussing is, in fact, the different sources of financing as well, or just have a little crash course of reading a financial statement. So let's get to that.
Yes, and get
Um,
your pens and papers, everybody, because just like me, you're going to want to take notes, and just know that you'll be able to go back and catch the replay. If you feel that you missed anything, his contact information, it will be there in the thread, and feel free to ask questions. I will be looking throughout the session here and see if we can get all your questions answered during this time. Okay?
right on. So you see the presentation screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Fantastic. All right, so first thing is the copyright statement. So the content in this presentation is protected under the Canadian Intellectual Property Corporation Act, registration number 1168379. And it's been created, all the content has been created exclusively by Pierre Gallant and Complete CU Service staff. The exception to the creativity is stock images and photos of logos. And before we start, just wanted to, I'll also mention that at the end of the presentation, but our team is doing a social media marketing private training starting the week of the 9th of November. It's a private training, flexible to your schedule, anytime after November 9th. It's a real team approach where we're going to be looking at your industry, your particular challenges, what you've done so far on social media, and it's a step-by-step online coaching to know how to, post your information on social media, which one of the applications would be better for your target market. We identify your target audience, create the buyer persona with you, and finally a social media strategy. And that is for a price of $375 for 4 1.5 hour courses, which is pretty affordable.
Yeah, usually there's zeros attached to these. I come from marketing space, and you're lucky to get something for under $1,000 of this magnitude. I mean, you're giving 4 1.5 hour sessions. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, huge value.
So please contact us at info@completestuservices.com, or you can call Erika Aguilar at 1-289-828-2648. That's my phone number, but it's 5884. I think it's posted on the link for this particular presentation.
Yeah.
So let's start off with the last episode, folks, credit facilities and reading financial statements. The first thing I'd like to say is the different types of credits that are available or that are common. So operational line of credits are usually to finance accounts receivables and inventory. It must fluctuate with, so it means to say if you have a $10 million credit line, it's got to come to zero because we're financing actual, live type of accounts receivable and inventory. So the banks want to see some fluctuation. Demand loans, which are temporary loans that companies may need to purchase something temporarily. They don't have the cash right on hand. Demand loans are called demand loans because the bank or the credit unions can demand it at any time.
Okay.
Term loans, which are usually for equipment, 1 to 5 years or more, depending on the life of the equipment. Commercial mortgages, obviously, to finance real estate. Letters of credit and guarantees, which are normally you have to give a letter of guarantee to different energy suppliers, or letters of credit if you're doing some trade finance or some import export. Risk capital or seed funding are for companies that are starting up and are looking for investors. So there's different types. Most of the banks have that, as well as Business Development Bank, which is a Crown Corporation. Money market products, which I basically started my career when I was in my early 20s. I didn't start my career doing that, but I was trading short-term debt. So bankers acceptance, which is a company that will offer some security to a bank and will endorse, if you will, and put
Mm-hmm.
that on the market. So bankers acceptance, CIBC, RBC, any big bank. It's a short-term debt, so it's 30 to 90 days, sometimes 180, but most of the times it's a short-term debt that's sold on the market, or commercial paper. As an example, Canadian Tire would issue some commercial paper. The only thing, the difference between a banker's acceptance and commercial paper is that there's no guarantee. So you're just buying a debt from Canadian Tire,
Oh, wow.
hoping they pay you back.
Yeah.
Corporate bonds and debentures. So corporate bonds are issued by large corporations. They're guaranteed by assets, whereas debentures is the same type of thing, but they're not guaranteed by assets. And lastly, issuing shares on the stock market. So those
Mm-hmm.
were the last three. Money market and corporate bonds and shares are for real large or larger public companies. So
Okay.
from small to medium businesses, what's interesting in Canada is that there's a lot of programs, and you'll see why. There's almost 1.1 million small to medium enterprises in Canada. More than 55% of them have less than 4 employees.
Mm-hmm.
Only 1.6% of them are medium-sized businesses. Small businesses employed 69 or 70% of the private sector worker in 2012, or 7.7 million people. In from 2002 period, small businesses were responsible for 7% of all jobs created in the private sector. So
Wow.
it's a very important sector for the government. One is for the taxing possibilities, but also in order to create jobs. So the small business, medium-sized businesses are very, very important to any economy, but especially here in Canada. Small business created around 100,000 jobs each year on average, which is phenomenal. Small medium enterprises represent 50 to 54% of the economic output produced by business sector in 2005. 90% of those exporting companies have fewer than 100 employees, but produce 25% of the total value of Canadian exports. So as we go on, you can tell it's a very, very important sector for Canada.
Yes.
So the one of the things that I wanted to touch on, but it's so there's so many different programs from our federal government and provincial governments and local communities that it takes 3 days to go through them.
Yeah, it can get
But
really confusing.
exactly. So what I would suggest, just go to if you're in Canada or in another country, go to your government website. I know that speaking to other individuals in other countries, the Canadian government is very generous in terms of different programs which aren't available in all countries.
Yes.
So we're very, very lucky here. Well, maybe not lucky, but it's part of the Canadians, how we do business, and it's an important social program, and it's important to our economy. So there's really like a whole bunch of things that are available. Just go to the www.canada.ca services for business grant. These are all different grants, and especially during the COVID-19, these are different benefits that have been created, even some of them very lately, which I really am happy about, and it's about time. But if you notice, there's one supporting Black business owners and entrepreneurs through the Black Entrepreneurship loan fund, which is, it's been, I think in the need. And I was going through some stats the other day, and there's only 1% visible minorities that are CEOs or executive management in Canada. So we say that we are very
Unbelievable that unbelievable that stat actually exists in 2020.
I know and I was shocked too, because we're promoting how we're a diverse society,
Yes.
which is true, but it's not consistent with the population. So,
Yeah.
that number should be at least, closer to 3 to 4%, which,
Yes.
the current population.
Yeah.
But we have to do better. We have to do better. But I'm very happy that that came out. I
Yes.
think it's not, it's long needed, but it's a step in the right direction for a little bit of change.
For
And
sure.
that's what's important. There's
Okay.
also a whole bunch of different for Indigenous individuals as well. So there's a lot of programs out there, especially we're talking right now about COVID-19. So there's Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, extending the work sharing program, where the government will, if you have to cut some employees, give them less hours, the government will kick in to supply the other part of the salary where employees are not receiving their income. There's different, it's like, it's really, there's a lot of support during this time. And it's not applicable to everybody. Like I'm kind of in the middle where it doesn't work for my for my own company, but
Okay.
I can't complain. There's other services out there, and perhaps, others need it more than I do, especially in terms of the salary, to subsidize salaries for the employees.
So
So,
who would, when you say it's not applicable to your business, anyone that's listening or catches the replay, do you have an
well,
idea that who
yeah,
it
okay.
would be?
So one of the loans, the STIBA, so it's interest-free loan that the government is offering.
Okay.
Um, so I declare dividends as salary, so I don't pay the staff with T4s. We're all kind of partners, so we pay each other through dividends, which is you know it's a little bit of a tax credit for us instead of
Okay.
declaring a T4.
Okay.
So the government only, for this particular loan, because the $40,000 loan, which is interest free, and if you pay it before December 2022,
Mm-hmm.
31st of December, they give you $10,000. If you pay it all off by that time, you only have to reimburse $30,000, which is amazing.
Wow. Okay.
However, dividends don't count as an expense. So you have to have at least $20,000 worth of expenses that are either rent. So you have to pay rent during a
Yes.
certain period. You had to pay employees during a certain period, but it's limited, or you had to pay professional fees or something like that. But whatever I have, like expenses for traveling, expenses for those don't fall into it. So it depends,
Okay.
how you pay yourself, how much you pay yourself, and what type of. So if you have a couple of staff that you're spending, that they're you've got over $40,000 in expenses, then that would qualify. So it's
Okay.
not you know done for every, like, it doesn't touch on all the small businesses, but you know what,
Yeah.
overall it's a great program.
That's
um,
great.
So subsequent to that, here's another Crown Corporation, which is the Business Development Bank of Canada.
Oh yeah.
They support businesses and entrepreneurs. They've got a whole bunch of different products. All they do, well, they don't do any lines of credits, but they do, uh, a sub debt. So they will inject cash into your company and become part owners of it if that's what you need. Long-term debt, loans to entrepreneurs, and they're also helping with some of these government programs, which is an excellent. It's an excellent bank. When I was working in a financial institution, and we couldn't help our clients, sometimes we'd call BDC and try to, maybe they would take part of the risk, um, and we would, help out the entrepreneur, or they will help out the entrepreneur until they're ready to go into a bank, because the rules and regulations are a little bit more stringent in a bank, whereas they're in 2008 and 2000, when we had the crash, BDC was, basically the banks that helped a lot of entrepreneurs survive. Another
Okay.
one that we have is the EDC, so the uh, uh, Export Development of Canada. It's
Mm-hmm.
again a Crown Corporation from the federal government, mandates to support trade between Canada and other countries. So they will issue guarantees on letters of credit. So when you import your product, that you're safe, that you can pay the supplier. Another very important part of the small businesses and medium-sized businesses in Canada, to help exports and imports.
Okay.
Um, and another one, obviously, is the Farm Credit Canada, which is also a Crown Corporation, and
Yes.
they helped, uh, you know, um, thousands and thousands, and perhaps millions of farmers in the past years. They've been along for around a long time. Their head office is located in Regina. It's another they'll issue guarantees for the bank, and they'll also help financing, raise money in domestic, international markets. And then we've got the banks. So the big six, we've got National, which is a smaller one, TD, Scotiabank, RBC, Bank of Montreal, and CIBC.
Yes.
So they offer corporate, mid-market, world markets. Those are the bigger companies. When you attain a certain number of dollar in income. Banking products has got operating lines of credit, equipment loans for manufacturing, leasing, large commercial real estate, franchises, packages that they have. They issue debt for the money market, bankers acceptance, commercial paper, and also help with the issuance of bonds and debentures. Risk capital, so financing with equity stake. So they will be a part investors with some subsidiaries of their banks, and inject capital and subordinate debt into a startup or more risky project.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, raising capital via share offerings, equity raising capital via underwriting shares or brokerage firms. And then when we get to the smaller medium-sized businesses, they have a lot of programs for professionals such as dentists, medical practices, young doctors, also to help with student loans.
Mm-hmm.
They offer operating lines of credit, commercial mortgages, equipment loans, dealer plan, which is financing floats of inventory for dealers. Leasing, like, I remember we used to do a lot of leasing for dentists or chairs,
Okay.
expensive. They offer treasury products and they finance a lot of agriculture and the
Yeah.
traditional lending and credit scoring products. So they
I
have,
have a question because I'm trying to figure out amongst the business owners that I speak to on a regular basis, um, with the banks, the big six, are they becoming a little bit more lenient than before? I mean, everyone has to have guidelines, but it seems like many are kind of turning away from the big six and going to some of the other financial institutions. It's almost created another industry, really, because of the approval ratings. Is that something that you can shed light on?
well, the banks, even when I was working there, and it's over, you know, when I was an account manager over 20 some odd years ago, if you
Yes.
didn't fit, like they want, there's a market for everything. Like I guess there's a way to get financing, but you're absolutely right. I mean, um, the big six are, I'd say National Bank is a little bit more flexible and more, they're very. I worked there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Really like very dynamic, and when we weren't able to finance, we would suggest National Bank, and I was in Quebec at the time, so then we suggest the second one would be Desjardins or the credit union,
Yes.
and but we'd always try to do something, but they're very very strict requirements, and if you don't fit in the box, um, yeah, it's and the issue is with these big banks, and I'll tell you, they have different models. So if you don't fit in a credit scoring model, what that means is that if I go to the bank and I have a beacon score, which is a credit score, which is
Yes.
800, so I can basically borrow $250,000 just on my signature.
Yes.
So which is great, but if my net worth is, and I'm talking again, it may have changed, but if I have a good net worth
Yes.
and my credit score is not as high because back 10 years ago, I had an argument with the Bay because they charged me for something. I returned it, and then they say I didn't pay it, whatever.
Yes.
I didn't want to pay it, and then I got a bad credit rating for that
Mm-hmm.
particular thing. Then I can't get $250,000 loan because my credit scoring is maybe at 600, let's say.
Yes.
So there's no place for me to go, even though, the bank may have the ability to walk around it, but they will say, you know what, we don't have. I remember when I was working in one of those financial institutions, we had a customer he just wanted $100,000, and his company, made millions and millions of net profit, and it didn't fit because of the same situation. Something happened with a retail store, and I brought it up to my adjudicators. I said, "Listen, this is ridiculous. No, we can't do anything. It doesn't fit in our mold. It doesn't
Wow.
fit in our requirements." So hopefully they've adjusted since then, because we lost a lot of business because it went from the traditional lending to credit scoring, and then lenders don't even have the ability to take any decisions, and it's not even logical. And I'll just share a funny story, and I won't mention the bank or the credit union, but
We don't want any of that coming back
right.
to us.
So it's
You
nobody's
can share that with
fault.
me later. I'll keep that in the vault after we're not live.
Anyway, so what happened is that I was talking to an AVP of credit at a credit union. He said, "You know what? I asked somebody, we needed an account manager. And so we interviewed all these people, and I asked one person, I said, a candidate, I said, how do you approve? What's the need to approve? Like, how do you do the due diligence to approve a loan
Yeah.
in small business? And the person said, well, if I press enter and it's green, that means it's good. And if I press enter and it's red, that means I can't lend.
Ah,
So, and that's what it became, because as my generation, or when we were, we started out, everything was manual. And there still is a lot of that manual stuff, but um, account managers today, and the banks, they don't look, uh, we used to do renewals and reviews every year, and now they only do reviews under a million, over a
wow.
million. So a lot of things have changed, but these credit scoring products, which are, like I said, they don't really see the entire picture. So you're
No.
absolutely right. So that's where we get to the credit unions, right?
But you know what? That's the reason why people in business need someone like you to bridge that gap on with the knowledge so that they know, because when you go to the bank, you're going to the bank on your own laurels, maybe someone who isn't a specialist, right? A friend, another business owner, even looking online, and you think that that's enough. And then you go into the bank, but you only have one chance, don't you, to make that great, just like an interview. You only have that one chance to present yourself in its entirety. But someone like you bridges that gap between the financial institution that they're going to actually visit and share their business plan, how they look on paper to present themselves. It's almost like a job interview consultant to prepare people for the job interview. So yeah,
Absolutely.
honestly, I think this is invaluable. Wow, we need to actually promote you for that.
Well, you're absolutely right, because I've seen, some engineers come in and they're brilliant. They've got,
Yes,
they've invented something which is gonna fly, it's gonna be phenomenal.
yeah,
But if they can't present it, like, I mean, they know the technical side of it, but
yeah,
if they don't have a partner that comes in, and we would see a lot of that. There's some consultants that would come with the person requiring some funds, and sell us, because it all it is really, when you're meeting, like we're talking about the startups, and if a lot of cash is required, you can sell it. You're able to show that you've done a good job. You've shown that it's possible. But what happens is, you're absolutely right. The entrepreneur, or the CEO of a company, will go to the bank and say, well, this is what I want. And then the banker will say, well, why? Well, because this is going to be great. Well, what's going to be great? How do you know what your market is? What's your market? Well, I don't, I just know it's a great idea. Yeah, but what do you have to offer me? How can you, what's your projections like? And how do you justify those projections? And so the banks are not being evil. They're managing, they're mitigating the risk. So if you have an
yeah,
entrepreneur that you can tell, what, I'm not going to send this guy, even though he's the smartest person in the world, or she's the smartest woman on the world, I can't justify this, because there's no market analysis, there's no strategic plan. What happens if that person passes away? What's the succession plan? What's
yeah,
the exit clause? How are you gonna get suppliers? Have you thought about? So there's so much work to be done, but I wouldn't guarantee you, but if you do a
yeah.
very good job, and you look at all the episodes, that every topic that we talked about, if you can, write a paragraph and have a good, statement with your projections, your chances have increased by at least 70% to get at least heard, rather than, you know what, denied. And then the person also, you know, something about self-confidence too, because
Yes.
if you're rejected, you're really rejected. Well, I had this, I had hopes and all this, and now you've already blown it with one bank. So then you're going to
Yeah.
go to the next one, and the banker's going to say, "Did you go see anybody else?" "Yeah, I went to." "And what happened?" "Well, it didn't go well." And even if you want to lie, well, they've already taken the credit bureau, so they're going to say, "Hey, you didn't tell me that you went to this other bank,
And
right?"
you know, from a psyche, a lot of things can happen to the individual where fear and doubt start to go in because let's be real, to embark on anything anyways, that's, you know, that is not the traditional way of working, right? Being an entrepreneur, business owner, you already have negative people around you if you're not in that space on a regular basis. So now, and you're fearful to begin with. If anyone says they're not fearful, they're lying. But now all that fear that you actually suppress starts to start coming up. So it's really important. Like honestly, you to me, you're kind of like the seatbelt on the roller coaster. No one gets on a roller coaster. I'm good. I don't need a seatbelt. So to me, you're the seatbelt for the transition for someone who's in business, who wants to acquire the financial resources, and someone who is not in business, but's looking for the best way to present themselves, not as a job seeker, but as a business owner to that financial institution. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's,
absolutely. And I gotta say, it's the same thing, you know, when I used to work with mid-market companies, these big,
yeah,
big, big enterprises, if there was a change in CEO, sometimes, you know what, we'd call back our loans because the CEO or whoever's the, you know, the chief financial executive officer, CFO, CRO, all these individuals really dictate, you know, the tone at the top. And if you see that they don't know what they're doing, then you're gonna
believe them. They
call,
don't know what they're doing if you see that.
we're gonna work with you because you're gonna run this company in the ground, but we're gonna work with you that you pay us off.
Wow.
So anyway, so
We can
the
talk all day long. Sorry about that, everybody. But you know, as you speak, Mr. Gallant, a lot of conversations, you know, that I've had in the past and even recently with individuals, especially in this particular time, looking for the grants and the funding, and just using the website only as their knowledge source. Which I'm a fan of the website. Don't get me wrong, but I really think that it has to be paired up with wise counsel, someone like you in this space. So that's why the questions and comments, because I'm hoping that some of them are listening and they'll catch the replay to hear this. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You need to really, like, you have to have websites and all that, even though, you know, you really have to have a good sense of where you're going with your own company. So it's not only, it's not, you know, a consultant that's going to tell you, you have to sell it to yourself, and you have to sell it to a consultant in order to sell it, you know, to the banker. So
Yeah.
credit unions are a great option. Credit unions are very, I would say, their mandate is to be more, I guess, the middle. It's not the last resort, but
Yes.
they're more traditional, and they will do a little bit more extra, and then maybe they will take more risk. So I
Yeah.
just, you know, put down these are credit unions in Ontario. Duca, Duca is
Perfect.
very, they do a lot of construction projects. Alternative Savings, which is, these are all, you know, commercial lenders here. Alternative Savings is one of the largest credit unions in Ontario.
Yes.
Windsor Family Credit Union, Libro out in London.
Sure.
And Libro does a lot of agricultural. Your neighborhood in Kitchener, they do a lot of agriculture as well,
Oh,
but
wow.
most,
Okay.
it's half and half. First Ontario, which is, they do a lot of new projects, construction, syndicated deals. Meridian, which is the biggest credit union in Ontario and one of
Yes.
the biggest in Canada. Kawartha Credit Union does a lot of commercial as well. They're out in the Kawartha. area. Sudbury Credit Union.
Yes.
They do a lot of commercial out there. Tandia, which used to be two different credit unions that merged together, actually three. Anyway, Tandia does a lot of commercial lending.
Yes.
Main Street as well. They have a lot of agricultural lending. Northern Credit Union in Sault Ste. Marie. IC Savings in Etobicoke.
Mm.
Fabulous story. They were the newest credit union that was they were created in the early 2000s, and they're almost up to $1 billion in assets.
Wow.
Kindred Credit Union, which used to be the Mennonite Credit Union,
Oh,
uh,
yeah, they changed. Okay, yeah.
and Southwest Regional Credit Union out in Sarnia. They do a little bit of both, agriculture and commercial lending. Um, so these they cater to small, medium corporate businesses
Hmm.
getting into syndication. So what syndications are is they'll share the risk. So example, if you've got a $30 million deal, I know that's a lot, but, or it could be a $5 million deal,
Yeah.
but one of the credit unions doesn't want to take the whole risk. They'll share that with other credit unions. So it's called a syndicate,
Oh, wow.
where credit union, let's say 5 credit unions will take on $1 million, and they help each other out that way. Commercial mortgages, construction projects, agriculture, and traditional lending with this financial ratio. So another thing is that the credit union sector, they don't have, well, they're starting to have credit scoring models, but it's really, the old style lending. So they're gonna help out their members, and that's, more their mandate. So I think they mostly do real estate, but and there's another alternative which has come out in the last 10 years. So this is our fintechs. So fintechs, what they do is they finance through crowdfunding. So they're regulated under the SEC, which is a different regulator than financial institutions. So what they do is that it's pretty much all virtual. Let's say in this example, an architect needs $800,000 for a particular project. They'll look for investors. So a fintech will be like a bank if you want, and they'll go out and say, okay, we need $800,000. How much, out of all the population, there's no clients, it's population of investors. So across Canada, they'll be looking for $800,000. So a
Wow.
minimum investment is like $25. So I don't know if that's gone up in the last couple of months, but
Hmm.
you can invest as low as $25. And when you see this loan, it's posted at, let's say, 8% rate. You can invest in it, whether it be, doesn't matter your amount, as long as it's over $25. Could be 31.25. It could
Well,
be,
that's amazing. And
yeah.
we have a comment here from Patricia Lynn Stokes saying that their Kingston Community Credit Union is a big supporter of their not-for-profits in Kingston, Ontario. So that's
Yeah,
good to hear.
yes, actually, Mr. Dessau I used to work with them. KCCU, excellent credit union. In
Wow.
my opinion, one of the greatest credit unions in Ontario. And
Really?
what I love, yes, because they are um, really there for the students. I mean, Kingston is a very particular area. It's got a
Yeah,
lot.
she mentions Dave Bull.
I mean,
She mentions they love Dave Bull and the
oh
credit
my
union.
God, he's amazing. He's, I love that guy so much. And he also plays guitar, and he plays in clubs and
Oh my gosh, the two of you must be amazing together because I know you love to dance and you love music.
Oh, he's a great guy. Really wonderful guy.
Wow.
Anyway, the staff at KCCU, I gotta say, not only the staff, but the whole the atmosphere of that institution. They're
Yes.
cutting edge. They've got, even though the executives are seniors, or like I don't want to say they're seniors. I mean, they have a lot of tenure. They're looking to, to keep the young people interested. I love those guys as clients. Are really
Yeah.
they're very
They
implicated
backed a
in.
big project there, the Dawn House, which really took a risk for them. You heard of the Dawn House, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so they backed that project there in Kingston. So yeah, you're just got a big smile on your face, Mr. Gallant. So you have a lot of fond memories and business relationship with him, eh?
absolutely. John, the CEO, and Dave, and that whole team, a really great bunch of people. Anyway,
Amazing.
so well, I hope this will get me a little bit of business from you guys.
Yes, absolutely. We will plug that all day long, replay all day.
Right on. I gotta contact Dave later
Make
on.
sure you do. Tell him that Patricia Lynn Stokes said that he's her favorite, and yeah, put that in there.
Dave and Jan. Okay. So anyway, fintech. So they can gather funds from any investor, any person over 18 in Canada. So in this example, I just put it
Okay.
together. Let's say one investor gives $50,000, another one 1,000 investors at 25, 100 investors at 1,000. So they get all that money together, 25 investors at 25,000. The architect gets his funds,
Hmm.
and then as he pays or she pays the loan, the proceeds of the interest go to the investors. So it's a new way, and I believe this is like the way of the future, because it's
Yes.
very it everything's done pretty much virtually, and it's also a very good alternative. The only disadvantage about crowdfunding, maybe that will change in the future, is that it's short term. So for this architect, the $800,000, he would have to pay that within 5 years. So
Okay.
you got to make sure. So
Is,
long term
is
right
it really
now,
doable? It's doable though, right?
um, I haven't seen that available yet.
Okay.
Perhaps they'll be changing because they don't take any assets in guarantees, so they want to be
Oh,
paid
okay.
quickly. So, and I
Okay.
think also the investors, to be in a long term, I mean, if you got $25 for 25 years in a loan, they say, hey, give me back my $25. I want to buy 5 chocolate bars. Anyway, so we'll do this quickly.
Okay, yes, I'm
Talking
sorry
about,
that we got a little bit off target here for people. We're at the top of the hour, 1 o'clock. But when you're having surgery, you don't rush the surgeon. So for
I'm a
anyone
very
that has to
slow
leave, yeah,
surgeon.
people that have to leave, please leave. We don't want to see you leave, but we totally understand that. Catch us back on the replay. Continue, Mr. Gallant.
So the first thing about financial statements is the assets.
Yeah.
There's asset and liability side. So it's counting 101. Uh,
Okay.
so whatever is the most liquid asset will go, that's listed first. So cash, obviously, this is consolidated financial statements of CIBC, October 31st, 2019.
All
So
right.
just to give us an idea, okay, so what's in the assets? There's interest-bearing deposits with banks, so they've got investment securities, cash collateral, and the loans, which, for a client is a liability, for
Mhm.
the banks is it's an asset because you owe them money. So they've got $208 billion in, no, $208 million in residential mortgages. No, that's got to be more than that. Yeah, because they have over $500 billion in assets. Yeah, so that's
Okay.
billion. Um, Personal loans, 43 billion. Credit card debt, 12 billion. Business and government that either probably help finance and projects,
Yes.
bridges, roads. Um, and on the other side, some of these are interesting because let's say we go down to goodwill. Uh,
Okay.
Goodwill, let's say we had McDonald's here, or
Yeah.
even for CIBC, goodwill is the value of the logo. So you can't,
Hmm.
so there's a price that's attributed to that. It's an
Wow.
asset in terms of like, if I were to take the CIBC logo, it has a lot of significance for Canadians, and
Mm-hmm.
or whether it be TD or whatever. So that becomes a marketing thing. So some of the, if you were to look at McDonald's, it's interesting because they have a huge goodwill. It's not necessarily all that, but in part it is. So we look at the total assets of $651 billion. Um, and then we look at the liability side. So this is
Oh,
where
wow.
they owe money to personal deposits. So your cash accounts, they owe you 178 billion. Business and government, no, personal, so deposits and personal. I guess those are GICs, etc. So these are all the things that they owe to companies. Now, in terms, if we go down to subordinated indebtedness and equity, so this is what they have in the market right now. So they've got 38 billion dollars in shares. So when we're talking about that, forms a part of their capital, which means that they've got 38 billion dollars of shares out there. So those are the ones that we buy on the market. So when you
Hmm.
become a shareholder, all financial statements have to be signed by the president and a director, which Victor G. Dodig is the president of CIBC, and Nicolas Lapin, which is, he used to be in charge of the superintendent, OSFI, the Office of Superintendent of Financial Institutions in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, I believe. So that's a great, individual to have on their board because
Mm-hmm.
he was once the regulator, the top regulator of Canada.
Wow.
In terms of their income or any company's income, you have different types of income. So interest income, that's mostly on their loans, any type of loans that they have. So they made $16 billion. Securities, so they do underwriting, they have Wood Gundy that, so they get a lot of money from issuing securities, $2 billion. Deposits with other banks, so they also have cash on hand, which they invest, and they will get a revenue from that. So they got $396 million. Then their expenses. So how much does it cost them to get deposits? So, the way they make money is the difference between a mortgage, let's say, which
Yeah.
is at 3%, let's say, and a deposit is 0.64 basis points for 1 year. So the difference is what they have to dish out. So that is part of their expenses. If it was a manufacturing firm, your cost of goods sold would be here. So you could have been making 20 billion, but you had to buy inventory, all that, and that's the most expensive part of your business. And then probably have your net income before expenses of 10 million or 10 billion.
Yes.
Then all the expenses that they would have, different types of expenses, staff, all. In this particular case, it's all the non-interest income.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, their total revenue. So they, made $18 billion. Now here's where you have the expenses. Uh, so employee compensation and benefits
Yeah.
is the highest here, is at $5 billion.
Yeah.
Um, so companies will have, any type of expenses, like in my case, gas for the car, transportation, plane, when I used to travel or whatever. If I
Yeah.
am on site, I'll expense my lunches, and my staff will, they'll, give me the receipts and everything, and we'll deduct that from our revenues.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, we have a lot of expenses, so we don't have to pay that much taxes. Um, but then again, that's also more expenses we have, the less money we make personally.
Exactly.
So income before taxes, then you have your taxes and your net income, and that's where you can start paying yourself, etc. Sorry. So I know we flew through that, but I don't want to keep you. Uh, I know it's not a very interesting topic, but at least it gives you a sense. It's kind of like a personal budget, so you,
Yes.
let's say,
Yes.
um,
No, it's interesting. It's really interesting. It's something that most people shy away from, and it's something that really needs to be looked at very seriously. I have a question for you from the asset side of things, or even, showing what people have when they go to banks. Have you seen anybody come there saying that they have cryptocurrency, and are they able to use that in any of the dealings, because the cryptocurrency can be converted to cash? Are you seeing that at all? Because I do have knowledge of several realtors that are actually accepting cryptocurrency as payment for properties, and it's growing. So do you have any thoughts on that?
oh, we need a couple of hours there, Tammy.
Okay, we'll have to
Uh,
do another seg. We'll have to do, we'll speak after. I'll leave that with you. So then just carry on. Carry on.
yeah, I mean, cryptocurrency is a new type of currency. It's not regulated like it is with regular currency. So there's a lot of different opinions.
Yeah.
Some of it, there's a lot of good because it's very transparent. And there are some risks, right? Like with anything. So
Yeah.
it's probably, I'd say right now it's on its way to becoming. I think the generations of the future is gonna be coming to that, because it
Yeah.
becomes more of a world currency rather than independent. But are we ready as a society to start accepting those? It's to be determined.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to never mention some of the individuals that work with us.
Yes.
Ray DeLillo, who was who helped me start the business, is vice president
Awesome.
now, and Michel Galasso, who's the director of
Okay.
internal
Perfect.
audit,
Yay. Congratulations. That's awesome.
and
Clapping for your
obviously
team.
Erika V. Aguilar,
Yes.
somebody I picked up, and myself.
Oh,
So
that's
again,
beautiful.
just want to promote this one last time. Be sure to register. Info at completeservices.com
Yes.
for social media private courses. Again, only $375. So be waiting to hear from you.
Yeah, everybody needs social media presence. When I was in the print hardcover magazine business, I used to tell people if they weren't advertising, they might as well be in their office with the lights off.
Right.
And then my conversation changed because the world changed, and I said, it's not about having a website. It's about having website, the internet. So I actually, changed my conversation of saying that you might as well just pull out the plug of your laptop if you're not doing anything on social media. And look what's happened. Involves every site. And I know for many years people were thinking, oh, internet, oh, is it going to last? And okay, I'm just going to play games on there. And people were so afraid to even just e-transfer money. And now, if you just think about the past 6 months, who ever would have thought that many people were working from home who probably were lobbying for it years and years at their companies to work from home, and now they realize that it actually can be done. Or maybe they're still going to the office, but they still have a lot of contact with their coworkers and clients through this space. So it's only fitting.
Interesting, you know, like there's a lot of things that are, who would have figured last year that Zoom would be a common, you know.
Yeah, who bought some stocks in Zoom? That's another thing to talk about.
Why wasn't it Skype? Why wasn't it Google Meet? You know?
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I know that Zoom was a very easy way to connect with others, whereas Skype, I don't want to get sued.
No, I mean, and for a salesperson like me, I was in the space of solely using the telephone and the website to actually promote and share and sell everything, every concept to do with advertising. So the Zoom face-to-face is beautiful, and I love your face, by the way. Okay. So let's wrap up with you, please, just saying something about what you like about Atlanta for Success, because in this world of so many opportunities, so many places for people to network and spend their time and, you know, put their hat and plant that little tree in the ground of where they're going to stay and how they're going to grow their business. What is it that you like about Atlanta for Success?
Well, I think one of the best things is really having access to these incredible facilitators such as yourself. All the great job that that the whole staff does, the opportunity to be able to you know give some help or to the community through these interviews and these episodes have been absolutely incredible. In terms of like giving back, right? Normally we would charge a lot of money for this type of training or these ideas, but you know what? It's our way of being giving back. And the other thing is that it gives a lot of visibility to a company, and these videos have been like fantastic. And also the networking events that you have each month. You know, you have your 30-second elevator pitch, and you meet a lot of different individuals. I subsequent to the last event, gotten in touch with Aguilar, gotten in touch with other individuals, and you know, we're looking at seeing different synergies that we're able to share and how to approach, you know, maybe not the Canadian market, but how can we join up and go deliver our you know, joint products to different countries across the world. So it's I you know, like I've said it before, and I think you mentioned it as well. You go to the Chamber of Commerce and you don't have the ability to speak to other people, or you speak to the people that's at your table, if it's a breakfast meeting or whatever it was. But you don't have the chance to be the spotlight. And here I had the opportunity to be the spotlight for five times in every week, right, for an hour. So I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, which is amazing. Thank you for sharing that. You know, it's one thing for all of us with Atlanta for Success, Gordon, Jay, Samantha, Kelly, Erika, Gabby, and myself to tell people. But it's so nice when we hear it from you. And it's important for people to know that every industry pretty much is represented in Atlanta for Success. Like what you said earlier about the startups, people who are embarking on being an entrepreneur and existing established businesses. And we just started out locally, and we're actually exposing ourselves to so many people now globally. So thank you so much. Gallant, will you be at our next event? October 29th, right?
Yep.
Okay, so if you want to reach out to Pierre Gallant, please feel free. We're going to put his contact information in this thread here in the chat. He's very accessible, always available. I don't know how he finds the time, but I'm just so glad he does. And of course, make sure you register. If you're in business, you want to show up, dress up from the waist up, okay, promote your business for free, 30-second pitch, and go to www.landofforsuccess.com/events to come to our next free event, which is taking place October 29th, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. You don't have, hey, guess what? Doesn't matter if there's any traffic. Doesn't matter if it's raining outside. You can just be right in the comfort of your own home. How about that? Perfect. Okay, so Pierre, we have to continue on with other things with you because you add so much value. I just want you to know, can I read some of the feedback I've received over your 5-part series?
Sure.
And no tears unless you have Kleenex. Do you have Kleenex? Here's some of the feedback I received. Personal messages. Some people are very shy, so they don't comment on the lives. And it warms my heart too to say, they said, thank you to Mr. Gallant. I have more confidence from listening to you. Another person said here, thank you, Mr. Gallant, for taking time to share your wisdom. I've been to several banks and not one person spent the time to ask me what's important to me. Wow. Another comment, thank you, Mr. Gallant, for being so humble. Who would have known? I would actually be able to say, I actually had a conversation or listened to a conversation with a CEO. Another individual who's in, they actually said the field that they're in manufacturing. They now feel that they can go out of the job that they have and possibly connect with someone like you to maybe show them how they can create a business plan and present themselves. Wow, great. That's huge. So I'm sorry, I get a little bit teary-eyed because, whew, you know, Land for Success really has a warm place in so many people's hearts because we have put everything in place with everyone in mind on how we can all grow together. If you know anything about the actual co-owners of the company, Jay and Gordon, they do so much for so many people all over the world. I'm not even really sure if they get enough accolades and praise for what they have done in the media, in global business, as well as helping other people create their own platforms and raise themselves up in their careers and all over in every industry. They're influencers. That's what I like to call them. And so it's only fitting that the heart that they have, the success that they have, they created this and we're a part of it. So we have to put our hats off to them, Gordon and Jay, and I'm going to put their names in here as well. I don't always pronounce names properly, so I don't want to mess up the last names. And someone says, you should know everyone's last name. Well, you know what? You can call me Tammy. It doesn't matter to me. Pierre, you're fine with the first name?
EJ.
You know, they're very humble as well. They're very approachable. You can reach any one of us, and we're here for you. And I'm just looking forward to what we have coming up next, our next event, and more of Pierre Jean Gallant. So let's sign off. Let's stay on, you and I. We have to talk.
All right, Tammy.
Quick, if you have more 5 minutes, I want it.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, folks. Take care. Call me anytime. All right.
Fantastic.